I just want to show. Move the table up a few inches. Just pull the table up a few inches. Thank you. Okay. Please join us up front if you're joining us. We are in Tzidkas Hatzadik. We are in Tzidkas Hatzadik Os Samach Beis. Last week we learned about Kedusha and the very definition of Kedusha. And we got so far as getting the beginning of an understanding of what Ruach HaKodesh is. Ruach HaKodesh, according to the way I understand it, just to review for a moment, Ruach HaKodesh means that our neshama is speaking to us all the time. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. The Ruach is the communicating tube that comes from my neshama to my goof. That's what tells me what to do. Gets interfered with all kinds of interference. Yitzhara, distractions, human trends, path of least resistance. There's all kinds of things that mess up the communications. So like we're in a, we're on a cell phone inside of a tunnel, and not hearing clearly what our neshama is saying. Unless you create a dedicated line where you're able to somehow or another move out the interference, and by moving out that interference, you're having a clean line from your neshama. That's the way we're built. L'chai neshama shenosata bi, tahirahi, ata verasa, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, and then we mess up the message. So the idea is to be able to hear that message clearly. Why it's called Ruach HaKodesh, because what you're doing is you're isolating the neshama to speak from all the other noises that are around us. Maybe you can do this with tefillah, maybe you can do this with Torah, maybe you can do this with meditation. I'm not recommending spiritual practices. But what I am saying, and the chiddush of it is, that everybody has Ruach HaKodesh. Everybody who has a neshama has Ruach HaKodesh. You don't have to go to some famous tzaddik, or you have Ruach HaKodesh. The question is, are we accessing? We have a neshama. Hashem gave us a neshama, that's all. And it's all the information that we need to live. It's all packaged in there. The question is, are we accessing it or are we not accessing? Are we hearing clearly? We're not hearing clearly. A lot of times it's really simple. You just do the right thing. A lot of times you need time to think something over, whatever. I'm not going into the spiritual practices, as I said, but I'm just explaining the word Ruach HaKodesh is the Kedusha of the Ruach, which stands between the Nefesh and the Neshama. If that's Kodesh, like Hektish is Hektish, like a woman is Harei HaMekudeshesli, like every other kind of Kedusha that's there, as Reb Tzadok explains it, separated and isolated and kept in its sanctity, not holy, but sanctity, Kedoshim to you, so then you will hear the right thing, and then everyone will come to you for brachas, if that's what you want. And that's what we spoke about last week.
Is that the idea that also through Tuma, a person can reach some sort of
It's a different line. And the Sitra Achra, that's part of what makes all this confusing. Yes, that like a Bilam. So, but Ruach HaKodesh is different than Nevuah. I just want to make it clear without getting into Sitra Achra because it's a different. But Ruach HaKodesh is different than Nevuah. Nevuah is Hashem speaks to me. I'm almost absenting my neshama with bittul gamor. Like the Balatani talks about bittul in the world of Bria. If that means anything to you. It's an astonishing idea. But bittul in the world of Bria. Nevuah could go to a shota. Nevuah is Hashem decided to make me a kli, and niv sfasayim, navi means niv sfasayim, my lips are saying the lashon of Hashem in a human language. That's a gewaldige thing. Ruach HaKodesh is something different. Ruach Kodesh is the process of machshava, dibur, ma'aseh. It's the process of nefesh, ruach, neshama. If you keep it clean, if you keep it kadosh, sacred, sanctified, so then you will hear the right thing. Sitra achra, a different level of confusion. Let's just leave it aside for a second. Here, Samach Beis, and I want to share with you some things which I think are to the level of his neshama. To the level of his neshama. So let's take it a step further in Samach Beis. And here Reb Tzadok says, Malois harbe yesh, there are a lot of different milos, good things about a person. A lot of things you can get. In other words, you can become an anav, you can be a chacham, there's a lot of milos that a person should strive to become. Vekulam, anything you can strive to become, zachu kfar gedole hadores unitalum. Here we're talking about Jews. Vekulam zachu kfar gedole hadores unitalum, v'zachu libneim achrei. What's going on with being Jewish and being the children of the Avos, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, is that when they mastered all of the extremely high levels of midos tovos and kedusha, it became epigenetic, actually altering the spiritual DNA of the Jewish person. If you're a ben Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, you will have an ability that the Avos gave you. Now, we know this. We always talk about Zchus Avos. But it's different than Zchus Avos. Zchus is different than the regular interpretation of Zchus Avos. The regular interpretation of Zchus Avos, I believe, is that, hey, Avram did an Akedah, or did whatever he did, the great things that he did, and we're reaping the benefits in the terms of schar. It's come out some kind of schus. Your great grandfather did a great thing. That's the shallow shot. The real shot is that when Avraham did went through the, let's call it the Asar Nisyonos, so what he did is he created a changed epigenetically. I'm hoping that's the right word, but what I mean by that is that it'll go through the generations genetically. The scientists and psychiatrists today say that if your grandfather, if you're a child of a survivor of the Holocaust, you are genetically different. That it was such an experience that it actually genetically changed, and that will go through all generations. And I want to go back to how important that is. But that's what I mean by epigenetically, so don't, you don't have to Google me, just trust me. That's what I mean. But what it means is not Zchus Avos that we get the schar for what Avraham Avinu did. No, Avraham Avinu made a change in the spiritual DNA, and we are like that because of that. We are unusual people because of it. And the Gemara calls this ein karen avos ela l'shleisha, that if you're talking about the actual formation of the Jewish neshama, if you will, so there's only 3 avos and 4 imahos. And he'll explain why that's important. Meaning let me just say, everything that, let's say, Shevet Naphtali or Naphtali himself does not necessarily change us unless we're from Naphtali. But we all are from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Before the Shvatim, so if you climb back to these week's parshas, we're all from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, but some of us are from Shevet Dan. And the Gemara reverse engineers that and says, well, if you find that you're a kind of a judgmental guy and you're always judging about Omer Don Dini, let's go to court. So probably you're from Shevet Dan. Doesn't make them bad. Just makes them from Shevet Dan. If you're have business in your blood, you're probably from Shevet Zvulun. The Gemara says it's Psachim. So you can reverse engineer it because we don't know what Shvatim we're on. But what does all that mean? That means that Zevulun l'chayf yamim yishkan, that when Zevulun became the businessman for Klal Yisrael, and he was giving money to Yisachar, so that either he received or he created a epigenetic factor that went down in history to us. So if you have that tendency, says the Gemara, you're permitted to, for whatever difference it makes, you're permitted to say that I'm probably from Zevulun. And by the way, it should be abundantly clear, although maybe you're not allowed to say that not everybody's cut out for everything. It's because we're all from different Shvatim, probably. Even worse, we're all from mixtures of the Shvatim. The Cholent that we are hence it's almost, to my mind, I'm not a politician, but to my mind, almost silly to push somebody to be something or do something which he has no kesher to. Take certain people and say, go to business. And you take other people, you say, you need to learn a kollel all day long. Also not right. Or you should be a dayan. I don't have that kind of a head. There are shivatim. There are shivatim. But we're going to get to Torah in a minute, so I don't want to jump to that. I'm all for Torah, just to make it clear. Let me say something. I want to just say something that this may sound shocking to me, but if you think about it for a minute, I think you'll agree with me. Asar nisyonos nisnasa Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu went through 10, what? Tests. Let's get a better word. 10 challenges. Okay, that's like a more modern shot. Went through 10 challenges. I give you my touch. There are 10 traumas that Avram Avinu went through. He was thrown into a fiery furnace, traumatic or not traumatic. He almost killed his son, Akeda. He had to move, my gosh. One of the most difficult things. He didn't know if his wife was having a relationship with an Egyptian. The 10, go through all of them. There were 10 traumas. Amad bekulan. Those 10 traumas that he went through, we are all traumatized because of it, on the one hand. But hear me out on this. What's the opposite of trauma? Or what is there's a book called all I know about it is the title, but the body keeps score. It means to say that the scientists have revealed that physical pain, my arm hurts, it's probably from some kind of a childhood trauma. Not that your mother grabbed your arm and slapped you down the street, but how the nervous system, the complexity of the nervous system and the brain, it could come out in a back pain. And it might be from that original trauma. If you got shot in the back, you got shot in the back, that's clear. But if you didn't, it might come from that original trauma. Nafka mina is that if you fix the trauma, if you can get back there and fix the trauma, which I don't know if one should or shouldn't, but to me it's suffice it to know that, I was traumatized to this, and therefore forever I fear abandonment, or I fear, whatever. I don't want to go into my life, all my different fears and all my different hang-ups, but I can trace them all, every single one of them. Every single one of them. And there are a lot. I could write a big book about it. Like we all went through stuff. I don't know anybody who didn't go through stuff. It's good enough, in my humble, unprofessional opinion, it's good enough to just know about them. But my point is that he went through 10 traumas, Amad B'chulam, and he withstood them all. What is it called when you withstand a trauma? Survival. And the survival, even in the evolutionary world, is the fittest. But it's also what you're developing when you survive a trauma is resilience to that trauma if it repeats itself. This is very, very important for our avodas Hashem. So there is, meaning if I can overcome the trauma that I endured, I become stronger in that thing. Everybody knows that, that suffering can make you stronger. As we're just reading the exact quote, if I can say it good in German, of Nietzsche, which is, Das was macht mich nicht unberecht, macht mich stärker. Which in English we would say, if it didn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. Nietzsche. If it didn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. Unfortunately, sometimes it kills you. Here's the thing, that Avraham Avinu went through 10 Nisyonos Reed traumas. I believe it's the ripe shot. I am traumatized. Avraham Avinu went through these 10 traumas, developed an epigenetic resilience to all of those things, hence a Chayal Tzahal can walk into fire. And the answer is, this, because Avraham Avinu walked into fire and was Amad by. And here's the thing about it, which is fascinating, that even normally we say Niskat Nahaderis. So our generation is no comparison to the pre-war Europe, and no comparison to the Gra, no comparison to Abaye V'Rava, Hillel V'Shabbai, etc. Certainly not to the Avos. In a way. But in another way, I would even argue in most ways, we're greater than them. Don't know about our knowledge, maybe in knowledge. We have Google, we have Chachma, we have all that artificial intelligence. We have more at our fingertips than the Gra in terms of information. But in the sense that, being that all my uncles and aunts died in the Holocaust, there is a resilience here which Abaye and Rava did not have. And we know how to survive. This is why you'll find, God forbid, a missile falling on a roof in Haifa, and within 20 minutes the coffee shop is full of people sitting and talking about it. It's a pliyat summa. I haven't surveyed all the nations of the world, but it's a pliyat summa. This is the resilience we have. I would even offer that it's that nisayon and resilience that has to be developed in order for the Mashiach to come. So we have to come to this level. For instance, being able to build a country. I don't know if we were always there, We have to come to this level. I mean, we apparently weren't there in the Bayis Sheni. We were there by the Chashmonaim. Like, who knows? Hashem should help. We should be successful here. But and I have nothing to apologize. But I'm not speaking from a Zionist point of view. I'm just speaking from a historical point of view. It should be obvious to everyone that we're experiencing miracles on a daily level. I don't mean that the missile fell 2 inches to the side, of course, but I'm just saying the whole general existence is. But what I'm referring to specifically is the resilience that epigenetically came from the endurance, Amad Bekulam, of Avraham Avinu, and then Yitzchak, and then Yaakov, and then Rivka, Rachel, Leah. And there was something that went into all the Shivtei Yisrael. And then if you know your specific Shevet, then, this is, by the way, beautiful sefer. It's in the back. Here, Shivtei Yisrael. This is written by one of our members, male's father. It's a sefer Yesod, on the Shvatim, based in Reb Tzadok, based in Maral, based in Chazal. It's a fantastic sefer, which is on sale. I don't get a commission. I'm just saying I just bought 5 of them, which is why they're sitting there. I want to give them to my children. It's a beautiful sefer. He was here in the shul. He spoke here at Bar Mitzvah a couple of months ago. So, but that sefer, that's not what his intention is, but can help you identify what shevet you're from. And let me tell you something. I mentioned this last week at the very end, and I just want to share it again. It's seminal. The Gemara in Brachas says in Samach Beis that the famous Gemara, one of the most famous Gemaras in Shas, that Rabbi Akiva was being put to death. Now watch this. Rabbi Akiva was being put to death by the Romans. He was a martyr. Talmidim said, maybe we can do something about this. Maybe you can do something about it with your, magical, abilities. The Talmidim were certainly traumatized by the killing of the Rabbi Akiva. That's for sure. Who wouldn't be? And it made history. And Rabbi Akiva's comment, the most curious comment, Kol Yamai Nitztarti al B'chol Levavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Miyadecha. What is B'chol Nafshecha? Afilu Noitelas Nafshecha. When we say B'chol Nafshecha in Kriya Shema, it means even if I have to give my life for it. Kol Yamai Nitztarti al Pasuk Zeh. All my life I'm worried about this Pasuk. Every day they're saying Kriya Shema 3 times a day. Kol Yamai Nitztarti al Pasuk Zeh. Which the Rishonim are medayik that he said Kriya Shema even before he became a Talmud Chacham. Kol Yamai Nitztarti al Pasuk Zeh. Masai Avai Liyadi. When am I going to be able to do? B'chol nafshecha, b'chol modecha I could do. B'chol levavcha I could daven. What am I going to be able to do? Levavcha. So I think mugzam. Okay. If we would come to a situation of having to die al kiddush Hashem, I would like to hope that I will make the right decision. Is that what Rabbi Akiva meant? He was wondering whether he would make the right decision. What does Kol Yamai Nitztarti al Pasuk Zeh? What was he mitzvah about? Nitztarti al Pasuk Zeh. Masai Yavai Liyadeh. When am I going to get to do this mitzvah? So, Mefarshim say this. The reason why any Jew in history has the ability to give up their life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is because we're the Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Rabbi Akiva was a Ben Gerim, and he didn't know if he has the Yerusha, the Nachala of the Avos. Okay, I'm a Ger. My father's a Ger, but I don't come from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Who knows where he came from? He traced it. Maybe he came from Nimrod. Who knows where he came from? So do I have the epigenetic resilience to be able to die al kiddush Hashem? Kol yamai nitzdarti al pasuk zeh masayavai liyadav. Will I be able to do this mitzvah or not? And the answer is, he was besimcha. Yes, I am able to do this mitzvah. Why was Rabbi Akiva able to do this mitzvah? Because when a person is Megayer, this is the Chiddush of Rabbi Akiva. Like, you can miss the whole story. Rabbi Akiva was Megayer. When anybody's Megayer, they're called Ben Avraham. And somehow, some miracle happens that the spiritual DNA that Avraham Avinu went through with his Tednas Yonos comes to me. That's the most important Chiddush of the whole story. When we say a ger is like the same thing as a Jew, like it's a kind of a, like a woke thing to to say, like, you're a ger, same as a Jew. It's not the same as a Jew. It's acceptable and it's good, maybe better, but it's not the same. One is a son of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and one is not a child of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. So the chiddush of Rabbi Akiva is that at least from Avraham Avinu I got it all, and that was his. I always wondered about this. You ever have anything that you wonder about your whole life? About yourself? Like that skeleton in the closet? Okay, so that's my... So Zchus Avos, by the way, then has a whole new meaning. of Zchus Avos is that which I inherited from the Avos, as opposed to like Schar Mitzvah. Rabbi, you'll enjoy this question. So, Biglal Avos, Tashia Bonim. Who said that? We already know who said Tarasaini HaKadosh, Mordechai ben David. Who's a Biglal Avos, Tashia Bonim? Biglal Avos, that's Shlomo Karlbach. How these people are doing to take these from the Brach Doidi Tefillah that we say on Pesach. Yeah? Brach Doidi. Anybody say that? The Piyut. And there it says, Biglal Avos, Tashia. Biglal Avos, Tashia. You know the song? You don't know the nigga? I'm samich on you right now. Huh? Yeah, that's where it comes from. But it was a piyut, Shita Shein Anoida Lami. I just looked up, nobody knows who wrote this whole thing, but it's very pretty. Like Torah Seino HaKadosh, so that's a piyut we said from Tzom Gedalia. This is from Brach Doidi. But as the poets of Israel, piyut means poet, a payut means poet. The piyutim of Israel are very, very telling with their very, very deep knowledge. It was a tzkufa, of Paitonim. And what he was teaching of Zchus Avos, I just like the ring of it. The Zchus Avos, a better way of saying it is Biglal Avos. Might be the pshat Biglal of Gilgal even. But Biglal Avos, because of what they did, isn't that what that means? Or a galal is like a circle. So Biglal Avos, Toshia Bonim. So it's because of what they did. There's going to be a Yeshua, not okay. You'll save us from no. We'll have the resilience. Toshia Bonim. That's what's saving us here. That's the way I understand it. Biglal Avos, Toshia Bonim. That's what's saving us here.
He says in the first line here, Zachu Kfar Dolev Hadoros. So there he means Avos?
No, not necessarily. But I'm starting with the first Dolev Hadoros, which is Avos. You're on the first line. You're jumping ahead. Let's look inside.
Zachu is like defining. So it's like
Good. Zachu is fine. Milos, let's read together. Milos harbe yesh. There are a lot of milos that a person can have. V'kulam zachu kvar gedolei hadoros unetalum. That our gedolei hadoros clearly darn through all the generations had opportunities and challenges and traumas that they were able to be omed in, v'zachu livneim achreim, and that's with us forever. So if I come, let's say, from a family of cheapskates, and my great-great-grandfather went out of his gedder and gave a lot of money to an ani, he changed all the generations forever. And we could do that for our great-grandchildren in recession. Shall be zocha. K'mo mala shem Yisrael, look at the very name Yisrael, Zacha Yaakov Avinu. So who was called Yisrael? Yaakov. So Yaakov was called by the name Yisrael. We are Bnei Yisrael Natala. Zacha Lazarei Achrav. Since he grabbed that Yisrael, he grabbed it. He chopped it. Since he chopped that Yisrael, whatever is going to go into it, he's going to explain. Whatever it takes to be called a Yisrael, simply put, it takes being a Yashar. Yaakov means krum, and Yisrael means Yeshurun. So he overcame, his original nature of Yaakov, and the Malach told him, "You're now Yisrael." Glat. It doesn't mean that what he had was bad, but it means that he overcame that. Now it's next thing. Yeshur, Yeshayahu said, when Mashiach comes, V'haya ha'akoiv lemishar. The mountains will become straight. As I'll say, Akoiv means Yaakov and Mishar means Yisrael. The people will stop saying, "Oh, Yaakov, you're always always got up knetch over there." Mishur, we will be considered to Yeshurun. We will be validated by the nations. I guess that means they're going to get rid of the arrest warrants. Or the UN in general. So, Hugam Ken Kama Madregas Bilti Suffolk, when you talk about Yisrael, there are many things that go into being a Yisrael. Kamoi B'cholam Ma'ilailos. Min HaPachas Sheb Yisrael, HaTachlis HaMadrega HaYoser El Yoina, B'malazu, Shu Yaakov Avinu, all of us. So whoever's a son of Yaakov Avinu has the ability to grab hundreds of things that Yaakov Avinu was able to chap in his life. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of his life, he said, Atem nitzavim hayoim kulchem, Rashechem Shivteichem, Mishoy Meimecha, Ad Choytevitz Choytevitzecha, Mishoy Meimecha, whichever the order. From top to bottom, everybody grabbed something, and not only us, Asher Oimtim Poyim Anu Hayoim, but even those that are not here yet in this world, everybody grabbed something from Yaakov Avinu. Everybody, you're all Jews. And if you're a Jew, you have at least one of these milos. Even you're a Ruvain, or you're a Shimon, or you're a Levi, but you have something from being Jewish, and that comes from Yaakov Avinu. Avol Hagerim, and listen here, and that's where I come to Rabbi Akiva. Hagerim, what are they going to say? Hagerim efshir lahem liskos lamalos Yisrael. They can't get all those milos. You're not going to have the bracha of Zavulun. Kivan she'enoi mizaroi shel Yaakov. Somebody sent me a clip of his name, famous psychologist Jordan Peterson, who's interesting guy. He says you can't ask the question of why Jews are more successful than everybody else. They're simply smarter. Yeah. Okay.
His new book is We Who Wrestle with God.
There you go. He's a real guy. Very smart one. Yeah. He did a study on different IQs and amongst different groups. This is like totally unacceptable. But different IQs in certain groups, and then what is the correct profession for them based on their IQ? You got almost thrown off. What is their profession should be, and held the shita that if you don't have the right, let's call it type of brain for being a lawyer, so stop trying to be a lawyer. You're wasting everybody's time and money.
I give them more greater determinant of success than anything else.
Yeah, that's what he says. So what are we wasting because we're liberal? I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just telling you what he says because it's no gale in yonenu. Because we're not willing to admit equal. It's not completely equal opportunity. So we're making people lose out, and governments lose out, and parents lose out. Like if you're meant to be a basketball player, be a basketball player. I presume that means hardly any IQ. It's just interestingly Dolev, because in other words there is some kind of predetermination here, and of average IQ of America is 80. Average Jewish IQ is 120. Apparently, according to him. So, Gerim, Shulam Liskais Lamalas, that all goes into it because that what we're talking about here is how we became what we became. The fitness, the survivalism, the resilience, all that goes into intelligence, doesn't it? So Kivan Shena Mizar Shel Yaakov, so you take a ger who's not Mizar Shel Yaakov, Rak Moish Hamar Rabbi Seinu Al Pasuk B'Shem Yisrael Yechuneh. Fascinating. Well, consider you like a Jew. But Hamachuneh Yisrael, but you're not really a Jew. Elu Kehillat Tzaddik. So, again, it doesn't make them bad. In fact, it makes them good. But this is, I'll tell you the Chiddush of Rabbi Akiva, but he does have all of Avram Avinu. So we don't say Ben Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. When we call him to the Aliyah, we say Ben Avram. And that's what he is. And lahalacha, there's no nafkamina, meaning like lahalacha, you're allowed to marry, you're allowed to, all the halachas, Torah mitzvahs, no nafkamina in that sense. But be'etzem, there's a difference. Probably they have more. But they also have the milah of somebody who transformed their life into being a ger. That's a Mesiras Nefesh that you don't have.
And is this transmission only through the father's line or through the mother's line too?
That's right. Yeah. So, epigenetics. Take the idea of tzaddik, he says. Milah Shem tzaddik. Who was the tzaddik? Yosef. Yosef tzaddik. Zacha Yosef HaTzadik unitolei. What he means unitolei means he chapped it. So here's a fascinating thing. Yosef. Let's take a moment to think about Yosef. Yosef, teenager, comes to Mitzrayim, best looking guy there. Just went through the trauma of traumas. Distanced, estranged by his brothers. They tried to kill him. One thing after the other. Yosef had like the most traumatized life, that childhood, that one can imagine, was the pits. He goes to Egypt, the land of opportunity. Egypt was then the golden Medina, and he's popular. People are. He's called Avrech. This guy somehow has like some kind of a charisma to him and a blessing to him, and he's a good-looking guy, and he's the smartest guy. And within a short time, he becomes close to Paro. But the whole time, he didn't give in. He somehow stayed on the derech. And Radiuk Neshel Aviv. He thought about his childhood, and he didn't get ruined like most people would, right? It's almost difficult to believe that he endured this, but this is why he was called a tzaddik. A tzaddik is midas hayisoid. That's why he's a tzaddik. What, Yitzchak Avinu wasn't a tzaddik? Because tzaddik means that he was masakin the tefillas, the midas hayisoid. A tzaddik means that I have to go against everything on a practical level, not on a psychological level or emunah level. I have to go everything in a completely isolated and lonely environment. Anybody was in jail. Anybody that was a good person. It's a baker. All of a sudden you have to make do. But who are your friends? Yosef. That's tzaddik. Well, I got a baker guy, but they're both in jail. So he was dealing with the law of the law, but he developed, because of that trauma, and maybe because of the trauma of his brothers and the trauma of jail, they pulled him out of the Vayirisuim in Abar, Shuas Hashem Karavayin. All of a sudden, he's on top of the world, helping everybody, and this is called the tzaddik. And anybody who is able today to become a tzaddik is if you're from the Bnei Rachel. That's if you're from Eina Malek Nofel Elibidei Mano Shorachel. As I state in Chazal. So again, you can reverse engineer this. So if somebody is able to be a tzaddik, probably he's from Yosef or Binyamin. So that's what I understand. If you're not able to be a tzaddik, not everybody has to be a tzaddik. But tzaddik, Yisoid Olam, Midas HaYisoid. Tzaddik, Yisoid Olam. So the Midas HaYisoid means that you can make this tikkun on such a practical level, like Mitzrayim. And the Yosef Hayab ben Mitzrayim, he was part of that culture. He looked like a Mitzri. He was a Mitzri. I don't know if he had like payas. I don't know, but nobody knows. But what is clear is that he endured the greatest, let's call it, tests of nature that there could possibly be, from every point of view. Tzofnas Baneach. It was called like so. Zacha Yosef HaTzadik went Dolev. Zacha Lazarei Acharav K'moshe Kasavti b'Makam Acher. The Rashid say Loila of Reb Tzadok, long arichos of what a tzaddik is. Beir Maimer Rabbi Seinu. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. Eina Amalek Neifel El Biyadav Shel. It doesn't say Yosef. It says Bnei Rachel. It's only the Bnei Rachel which will be able to make Amalek fall. You know why? Because Amalek is Asher Korcha Baderech. In the words of the Zohar, Klipas HaChutzpah, meaning all the other nations of the world were intimidated by the Ten Makos and the Kriyas Yamsuf. Watch out for the Jews. Asher Korcha Baderech, they went for it. And it was here's a Zohar everybody can understand. There was a certain chutzpah of going against what's natural and what's normal, at least for a few weeks, leave the Jews alone, like this is not smart. And that's Asher Korcha, what's the motion there? All that means that they were able to go against the trend, and the Yosef was also able to go against the trend, so therefore, Ein Amalek Neufel El Biyadav Shel Yosef Uvnei Rachel. That's the pshat. Sheikh ben Yosef. But you see, in the Spheros, Tzaddik is one level, not yet Malchus. Not Malchus David HaMelech, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Maimer Abisenu, the Yosef Lasholta Ina Bisha. That Yosef is immune to Ayin Hara. The Gemara is many places. Aren't you worried about Ayin Hara? Zara de Yosef, I know. They knew that they were from Yosef. We don't know. Maybe we should think about it more. But there's been so much, like intermarriage between the Shvatim. How would anybody? So we're all like a little schizophrenic.
If you're including matrilineal, then we're all probably children of all of the Shvatim.
Matrilineally, unless.
Yeah, if you include both lines, if you're only going to go by the father's line, then you're only from one Shevet. But if you include the mother's line, you can be from all the Shvatim at once.
Right, but maybe this goes by the father.
Didn't they switch it? Didn't Chazal switch it?
To what?
It was maternal, and then
It was paternal.
Paternal, and then it became
Uh-huh.
maternal.
Yeah, but we know there's certain halachas. Certain halachas. No, I mean he still calls somebody Aliyah by their father's name. The reason, he tiru shvatim zubazu. But
I heard from Moshe Shapiro that the milas of the shvatim comes paternally. Etzem Yadus comes maternally, and all the other milas that's being right here comes to the father.
Perfect. So basically, what we're coming to, okay. Moshe to say it all in one sentence, right? Or at least you to say it over in one sentence. So Yosef is immune. It's a word I like to use since Corona. So Yosef is immune from Ayin Hara. Why is he immune from Ayin Hara? Why is he immune from Ayin Hara? Because he did Shmiras Einayim. So since he did Shmiras Einayim, what does it mean Shmiras Einayim? I don't know if it means that he walked. He didn't your eyes pull you in a certain direction. He didn't let that influence him. Shmiras Einayim. Hence he's immune to Ayin Hara. Not a beautiful chazal. You see, people say to me a lot of times, like, I feel like somebody put an Ayin Hara on me. Do you have a number of the length lady? Or where do I get one of those red strings? Or all kinds of schools. What's the right answer to this person? I teach you. Be more makbid on Shmiras Einayim. And then you're immune. This is vitamin D for the soul. By being makbid on Shmiras Einayim, you see from Yosef, you're not going to be subject to inabisha.
Is that Shmiras Einayim of Kina or of Arias?
The whole thing. Whatever Yosef was makbid on, but he was clearly makbid on Zchus, Shmiras Einayim from Zchus, Tzadok. But I think it. Kina Taiva, Akina Vataiva Kavan by Tzina Saladamina Elam. So the Shmiras Einayim, the Ramchal says, is in all three branches. And Rabbi Chal tells us that corresponds to Torah Avodah Gemilas Chasodim. So just for homework reference, but it's all three. So that's, now what about, he says, yes, Akasha, Afal Pi, Shenamar, Amei Chulam Tzadikim. So L'chayr the Midah of Tzadik, Yisraelim is everyone. Says Reb Tzadok Mikol Malkim Ikare B'Zardiyos. It doesn't really mean it. It really means Zardiyos have the ability. So again, let's not lose sight of what we're doing over here. This is a spiritual epigenetic factor that has come through the generations, which allow me to be either Moser Nefesh, have the resilience to be able to go through relative ease everything that Avraham Avinu did and everything that my great grandparents went through in pogroms, etc. That's all in our DNA, and hence we have. Now, what about Mashiach himself? Shem Chassid, Zacha David HaMelech of Olav Shalom, Unatalai. David HaMelech grabbed the Chassid part. B'chein Zarj David Achra, base David Levad. So the Zera Shel David, which is the Zera of Mashiach, grabbed the Chassid thing. How do we know that he grabbed the Chassid title? Because David HaMelech said, until him Shamra Nafshi, Ki Chassid Ani. Hashem, take care of me, because I'm a chassid. Dr. Rashi, did a little research here. Dr. Rashi, ki chassid ani, that I'm not, I'm above all temptation. Nafshi chol b'kirbi. So, well, who had more temptation and gave into it than David HaMelech? The whole Tehillim is written as his tshuva. But the answer is nafshi chol b'kirbi. The Mepharshim say right in Tehillim. That's exactly the point. His Nisayan was taiva. Not everybody's Nisayan is taiva. Not everybody's born about with this kind of taiva. Not everyone's going to see a beautiful woman on the porch and say, "I'm going to marry her no matter what." But this was David HaMelech's very strong character, which he overcame with strength and turned it into malchus, and that's called a chassid specifically. A chassid specifically is someone who is born with a nature and turns it into, like chesed is always going out of yourself. That's what chesed means. Right? Chesed is hispashtus. So he took the taiva and turned it into gvura, and gave us a Beis HaMikdash. Yes, so Shamar Nafshi Chasarani. So the Bechina of Mashiach, Shebo Acharav, is a Bechina of David HaMelech, which you're not necessarily going to get from somebody who's not a Ben David. Because we're not any longer talking about, first of all, you got to be Jewish, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. You got to be Jewish. But specifically through the line of Rus and through the line of Moab, so interestingly, and Ammon and all that, Lot, but it's all has to do with this kind of like a very funny, an awkward story from Benos Lot all the way down to David HaMelech of Chasidus. And Chasidus being that a person who's born with a tremendous amount of koach that was easily misused and abused, and it becomes good. The Tzadok says that the biggest Bali Taiva have the greatest potential. We drug them. I'm just saying that like we said before, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you great. So it's a difficult thing. I guess we daven at the end. We don't want nisyonis, but some of it we just have. I don't know anybody who doesn't have any nisyonis. So it's a challenge from which you can grow from.
So is it saying that with Yosef he didn't do anything, he held back? So he used it
it's a different level. So one's a tzaddik, one's malchus. Malchus. And then Levi, I want to take the next 5 minutes to finish. Levi zachal l'shem tahar. Bizarrei achrav, if you're a Levi, you're a tahar. Va'arain v'zarai acharav, if you're an Aaronian, otherwise known as a Kohen, zoche zar acharav l'shem kadosh. So there's a mitzvah to give a Kohen a level of kedusha. Again, explained it last week. It doesn't even mean kavod per se. It means something separate. There was a Kohen here. Was it you, Moshe? A Kohen here who made a bris, and I named the baby. Was that you? one of our Kohanim, and the name was, let's say, Yitzchak ben Moshe, but I didn't say Yitzchak ben Moshe HaKohen. And the Moil, who's Rabbi Weisberg, said in a very loud voice, "You were just mevatel the mitzvah's essay of the Kiddushtoi." Boy, will I never do that again. Kiddushtoi means keep it separate, meaning like not about kedusha be'etzem necessarily. Maybe the Kohen's kaddish, maybe it's not. But the this is a separate idea. You can't marry everybody, you can't eat everything, whatever. But this is a separate idea than the regular kedusha of Klal Yisrael because it's more separate, more sacred. So that's Shevet Levi, each one to their degree. Levi. A Levi, though, is, if you look in the Chumash, I think it's where's Baloscha. If you look in the Chumash, it talks all about the Levium talking about v'tiharta oisam. It's all like over and over and over again. This is how you're matire them, wave them around, throw them in a circle. I don't know. That's a very good question. But tahara is a Levi and a Kohen is kadosh. So it's two different things. And most important, if you'll give me another minute, Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom. What about him? Zachal amaylos haTorah v'achachma u'l'shem talmud chacham. Moshe Rabbeinu was zeichet to Torah. Lo zachal lazarei acharav. There was nothing epigenetic about it. No. And Chazal say clearly Moshe Rabbeinu was saying who should Aaron Ubanav and Yoshua should be the next leader. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Chazal said to Hashem, what about my children? Where's my Yerusha? And Hashem said to him that Torah is for everybody. What you brought to Bnei Yisrael is not family designated and the reason is because we were all Mesached in Har Sinai and we heard this Torah and you wouldn't have gotten it if we wouldn't have listened. So everything... very good, Kehillas Yaakov. Lo zachal lazar acharav koshamar Rabbi Yaseinu zal shebikesh shinasen gedulase lazar he begged Hashem. I want my children to be my replacements, which would have been natural. But Loinasanai Hashem did not grant him this. Ki talmidei chachamim ein mesuyim liyos b'neihem talmidei chachamim. It doesn't mean that it's a bad, it's not going to be. It means to say you can't assume that somebody's father's a Talmud Chacham, therefore they're going to be a Talmud Chacham. When we were kids, we sang in the choir, you'll remember the words, right? Der Kesser von Torah is often, mir kennt das nicht kriegen mit Schlafen. You remember? Nor mit Yegi Araba. Pirchei. As the song came from Litta. That the Kesser of Torah always has to be open. And you cannot get it by any natural means. Merkendos nishkrigim mit schlafen, nor mit yegia rabba kemen koine zaino elam haba. So we used to sing that. So that's Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get to have b'neihem talmidei chachamim. The Gemara also says, Tizar bivnei aniyim shemehem teitzei Torah. You should be careful with the children of poor people, because a lot of Torah comes out from them. My Rebbe Rosh Steinberg used to always say about me, that's what you got going for you. So he said, "Tizar b'vnei aniyim shemehem teitzei seir." What's the shot? Because it's dafka the b'nei aniyim that have to struggle for what they have. So they've got a better chance at the Keser Torah. But no matter how much you struggle, you're not going to become a Kohen. Did I tell you this story last week? Moshe has this L'Kavod Moshe. Somebody made a pidyon up ben. And the pidyon up ben was over, and then came to benching. So he says to the rabbi, who should bench? So the rabbi said, let the Kohen bench. He said, but the Kohen left. So isn't there another Kohen here? So the guy says, well, I'm a Kohen. So the rabbi says, you don't have to make a pidyon up ben, you're a Kohen. So he says, well, why did you tell that my last kid?